Hi everyone, it's Wasim here. In this lesson I'm going to show you how to organize your layers within Photoshop. So let's go to File, New. The size of the canvas here really doesn't matter. I'm going to select the brush tool, pick a color and just do a scribble, nice thick scribble. Oops, let's go back again. Sorry, I had to create a new layer. So that's the first mistake that people make. I just made it myself. So it says create a new layer as you hover over this little icon. Always make sure you create a new layer, just like I didn't do. Now with that layer selected, let's scribble in there. And this time what we're going to do that we didn't do in the first lesson is begin to label our layers to get organized. Okay, that's one of the first things that you should start to do when you work on a new project. And the reason for that is that you may actually end up with hundreds and hundreds of layers. Okay, and the last thing you want to do is, let me just show you here, if you create lots of layers, the last thing you want to do is have, if I select orange here and go up onto layer 6 and turn my brush very thin and do a tiny little scribble like this, can you see that on the canvas we can see it, and that's fair enough. But look over here, if I just select one of the other layers, now if I've progressed further into my project, there is nothing on the right hand side that tells me that the orange scribble belongs to layer 6. I can see the red scribble and I could guess, well, that's going to be the red scribble that I can see on the left hand side here, the one that I can see in the thumbnail, but there's nothing to suggest that this orange scribble resides within layer 6. So I really need to have a system of labeling, and the way that we do this is by double clicking on the actual text in the layer. Don't double click on in this blue area. If you do, this happens. A layer style window appears and then you're dealing with something completely different. So let's click cancel. We click on the actual text. So I'm going to double click on there and I'm going to call it red and press enter. In layer 2, actually let's get rid of we'll keep layer 6 there. In layer 2, we'll make it nice and thick again. I'm going to select an orange, okay, and I'm going to do another little scribble there, and this time I'm going to label that as orange and press enter. Then I'm going to get blue, do a blue scribble, go into layer 3, sorry, and then do a blue scribble and label that by double clicking on the text in layer 3 as blue and press enter. Then in layer 4 I'm going to choose a pink color. I'm going to make sure that that's very thin, just like that orange one, and I'm going to label that pink, although it looks slightly purple, doesn't it? Then I'm going to go into layer 5 and click on this dark red and do a little dark red scribble here and just label that dark red and press enter. And in layer 6, if we grab the move tool, we can see that we've got the orange thin scribble there anyway, so we'll just name that orange and press enter. Now if I carried on creating lots and lots and lots of these, I'd have hundreds of layers and I'd have to just keep scrolling up and down looking for where the scribbles are. Okay, and also it says pink, dark red and orange. I still haven't really written anything in there to suggest that they're scribbles. Now I could write pink scribble or thin pink scribble, dark red thin scribble or thin orange scribble, but the way that I like to do things is put all of these layers within their respective folders, just like you do on your computer desktop if you're a well organized person. Now there's two ways that you can create folders. It does the same job, but there's just two different ways that you can do it, and I'll show you both. If I just go on the background layer here for the moment, there's a little icon right at the bottom of the layer where it says create a new group. This is actually just another way of saying create a new folder. Okay, so if you click on that, you'll see a little folder icon appears and it says group 1. You can actually label this group, okay, or file. So I'm going to label it as scribbles, okay, and I'm going to put all of these within there. And the way I do that is this: click on the top one, hold down shift, and click on the bottom one, red. So if you click on the top and the bottom, it will select everything in between and the top and the bottom. And then you can drag, left click and drag, and drop it within that folder. And you can actually close that folder, and look how neat that actually looks now. Yeah, so you've got a folder with all the scribbles in there. Now here's something that will help you to organize everything within this folder even further. You have a set of thick scribbles and a set of thin scribbles. So I'm going to create another folder within this scribbles folder and just label them as thick and thin. But I'm going to show you the second way that you can make this folder now. If I select this one, I can hold down the control and select this one and this one, or I can select one of them and hold down shift and just click on the bottom one there. And I'm going to, instead of creating the folder first, I'm going to drag these straight into this folder icon and let go, and you'll see that it's created a group for me and it's put all those thick scribbles within that group. So I'm going to double click on this text again and actually label it as thick. I'll just call it thick, and then I'll do the same with these. Click on that one over there, the orange layer, hold down shift and click on this pink layer, get them all selected and drag them in a folder, left click and drag and let go, and call that thin. Now why did I arrange it like this? It's because now I know that I've got a folder with all the scribbles in there. I know that all of my scribbles are within one specific folder. That's that. And within that folder I've got thick scribbles and thin scribbles. So I've got the thin folder selected, thin scribble folder selected, and I've got the move tool selected. If I move this now, you can see that I'm able to move all the contents of the folder together. Okay, and if I click on thick, I'm able to do the same with that as well. And if I click on scribbles, the actual folder where all of the scribbles reside, then left click and drag and I'm able to move all of them together. So if I wanted to move the scribbles individually, then obviously I go into the folders like this. Okay, thin and thick. If I wanted to move the thick blue scribble, I'm gone into the folder here, select the layer with the blue thick scribble in there and move that individually. And once I'm happy with the position, then I can close the folder and I can arrange all of them or position the whole lot together wherever I want. Now that's all well and good and fine, but if you're working on a really large project, you could actually end up with hundreds of folders with hundreds of folders within there, within hundreds of actual pieces of graphic. Now let's say for example I did have another folder. Let's drag it into the new layer icon, and what this actually does, it duplicates everything within that folder, which was actually, that's another thing I wanted to cover, but I'll do that in a moment in a little bit more depth. I could color code them, so that's the next way of organizing your folders, is to color code them so that visually you have a quick overview when you glance over to your right into the layers panel. And the way you do this is, see this eye icon here, if you just hover over there, it says indicates layer visibility. Okay, if you click on that, it will turn those scribbles off. Yeah, If you click on there again, it turns it on. But there's another hidden little trick here. If you right click on there, you can choose from any one of these colors to color code that specific folder. So if I click on red, you'll see that that's just turned to red. Well, it's actually pink, but it says red. If I do the drop down here, you can now see that everything within that folder, there will be a red strip on the left hand side. Watch this, there and there. Okay, so that's pretty helpful when you're scrolling up and down this layer panel and all you see is just lots and lots of layers. It's nice to know that your scribbles folder you'll be able to find it very, very quickly, because you'll just see a red strip go up or down. Okay, so if I go right click here and label that as yellow and open up those contents, you can see what I mean now. And in here they may not be scribbles, they may be something to do with photos. Yeah. So when you're scrolling down, you know that within this folder where it says photos, you'll just see a yellow strip kind of scroll up and down as you're looking for them. And this could go on for ages and ages, you know, up or down this scrolling, and it could be a complete nightmare if you haven't color coded them and you haven't labeled them as well. So let's close that and close that as well. And let me just go into duplicating layers. Let's say, for example, you create a folder and you call it photos dash black and white. I've just written all that for short. By the way, this isn't like your desktop folders where you can't use these little and signs and dashes and dots. You can write anything in here and press enter. So that's a folder there. If you drag a layer, let's create a new layer, and let's do an orange circle on there. Now if you drag this into a new layer, onto the new layer icon and let go, you'll actually duplicate the layer. It will just make another layer with exactly the same circle in there. So if I call this orange circle and press enter, and then drag that, left click and drag and let go on the new layer icon, it will create another layer, and it says orange circle, copy. If I get the move tool now, you can see now as I move it out of the way, I've duplicated it. Okay, so if you want to make a whole load of duplicate circles like this, you just drag it into the new layer icon. So that's a very, very good way of arranging your layers as well. Let's say, for example, if I select both of these now and drag both of those onto this layer icon, have a guess what's going to happen. Yep, you probably guessed right. You're going to duplicate both of these layers. So there's another 2, and when you move those 2 out of the way, you've got 4. Okay, and then you can select all of those 4 by clicking on the top one, holding down shift, clicking on the bottom one, and it selects everything. Left click and drag, put that into a folder and call it orange circles and press enter. Right click on there, choose orange, and when you drop down you'll see an orange strip there. Okay, and the black and white photos, they're not black and white photos by the way, I just duplicated it, remember. Right click, we'll do that yellow. Actually, let's get rid of that. That was a bit of a mistake on my part. Okay, so can you see now that this orange section here represents these orange circles, and the scribbles represented by the pink or the red on the left are all these. Okay, so that's a very, very good way of organizing it. So we've created folders, folders within folders, color coding, and labeling the layers and the folders. Now there's one more thing left. These thumbnails are very small, aren't they? Can you see those? We can see these ones because we've made some thick lines, so we're able to make out that this is the red, orange and blue. But some of you watching this may find it a little bit difficult to have to keep looking at very small thumbnails, so there is a way of changing it. If you go over here, this tiny little drop down, hardly noticeable, but if you left click on there, go right down to the bottom, and it says palette options. Click on there, and it says thumbnail size, so you're able to pick the size of what these thumbnails are going to look like. So if we click on the largest one and click OK, you can see now that it gives you a little bit of a better view. But the problem with this is that it does take up a lot of space here, and you'll be scrolling up and down forever because of the size of the thumbnails. So I'm going to just turn it back into a small one, and whatever you do, I know it gives you the option to not have a thumbnail, but I really do not advise you to use this, because when you've got colors on your canvas and you've got photos there, sometimes even without the labels, if you do happen to forget to label your layer, you can at least see the image in there and kind of correspond it with what's on the canvas. So I like to keep it at the smaller one and click OK, and we've gone back to normal again. So that is how to organize your layers. So always remember to create a new layer by dragging it in the new layer icon over here. You can click on that to create a new folder. You can drag your layers into the folder icon and they automatically fall into the folder. And always remember to label your folders as well and color code them so they just look like drop down menus. Okay, so that is it. That is how to organize your layers professionally within Photoshop.